Originally introduced as a technical trail runner, the Salomon XT6 Advanced has received a second chance as a lifestyle sneaker for the French outdoor company. The model looks trail ready again in this brown-based colorway from the Spring-Summer 2021 collection. Let's take a look. Hey everyone, what is up? My name is Reese and I've got a brand new sneaker review to bring you. What we're looking at today is the Salomon S-Lab XT6 Advanced in the Kangaroo colorway. The colors listed on the box are Ren, Kangaroo, and Vanilla Ice, and these released in the first quarter of 2021 with a retail price of $220 US. For this review, we'll focus on the history of the brand and this model. We'll talk about the sizing, comfort, and availability of this colorway, and then dive into a close-up view where we can take a look at the colors, materials, and technology that make up this particular shoe before wrapping up with an on-foot look. If you want to jump to any of those sections, I will put time codes down below. We'll start with a quick primer on the brand in case you're not familiar. So Salomon is a French outdoor company that was founded in 1947. Originally, their focus was on skiing, but they've expanded to really think about a lot of different outdoor pursuits. They're most well known for the gear they produce in the realms of skiing, snowboarding, hiking, and trail running. In 2013, these were introduced as part of their trail running kind of technical lineup. And honestly, this is not a model that I had any familiarity with until I picked these up. I've been familiar with Salomon, but I've never owned a pair of their shoes before. And despite that, I think it is really obvious kind of to see a shoe like this and say, oh yeah, that is a Salomon shoe. There's just a very clear design language that they use, but I just didn't know the particulars about this exact model. When it was introduced, the kind of two key benefits that they really seemed to tout were the ability to kind of keep you stable on soft and uneven ground, and then something that they call descent control, which basically means how well the shoe is able to keep you upright and moving as you're going downhill on different terrain, whether it's rocky, soft, uneven, whatever that might be. Like a lot of technical kind of niche focused gear, these had a fairly normal initial product life cycle. They were well received. People seemed to really enjoy them. But after maybe a year or so, they ended up being discontinued just as newer models and newer technology was on the scene from both Salomon and other brands. And for a lot of shoes, that would probably be the end of their story, especially at Salomon. By 2016, this model was actually included on a list of the molds that they were going to destroy, basically making it hard, if not impossible, to reproduce these down the road. At the time, there was a manager at the company, though, who ended up wanting to save these. And I apologize, my French pronunciation is probably not perfect, but his name was Jean-Philippe Lalonde. And basically, he started thinking about how Salomon could break into the lifestyle market. If we think about the mid 2010s up till now, there's been a growth of technical outdoor companies really breaking onto that streetwear scene. Companies like the North Face have set a lot of trends in that area, and this was Salomon's attempt to get back into that. The Jean-Philippe basically looked at this model and thought that there would be a lot of opportunities to do unique colors and options with this shoe, and so he said, hey, let's bring this back. By 2018, it was able to see its first reintroduction to the market. And it's been a really successful relaunch. In 2019, GQ actually named this their sneaker of the year. And we've seen fairly steady releases where they both put out some widely available colorways that you can get even on Salomon.com that seem to be pretty much universally available. And then releases like this, which are more seasonal, kind of using maybe some more unique colors just to grab interest for the model. Focusing now on the sizing for this shoe, general consensus online is to go up half a size, and I think if you can do it, that's going to make sense for most people. Unfortunately, I wear a US 13, which is the maximum size that they produce for these, and so I ended up just trying it, and for me, they worked out perfectly, but I think most people are going to be happier going up half a size. I have fairly narrow feet, and I think in a lot of cases could probably fit pretty well in a 12 and a half. Just ends up being easier to find a 13, and I'd rather err on the side of being a little bigger rather than accidentally being a little bit smaller. While these aren't too tight for me, I definitely feel kind of on the sides of the shoe it hugging pretty well, And so I think if you have a normal or above average width for your foot, going up half a size is going to make a lot of sense if you can. Now, as far as comfort goes, I would say it's good, but nothing spectacular here. Being a trail running shoe, these are going to be a bit firmer than like a nice springy running shoe you might be used to, something like an Ultra Boost. And the best way I can describe it is that they're comfortable in the sense that you don't really feel a whole lot, rather than being comfortable in that you really feel how cushioned they are. I will say that they're very consistent, meaning that when you put them on in the morning, they're going to feel just as good as they feel at the end of the day, which is really nice. And then there is an ortholite insole in there as well, which does help with the step-in comfort a little bit. So I don't think people are going to be disappointed. You're just not going to put these on and think, wow, this is the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn. When it comes to availability, if you're trying to track down this exact colorway, you unfortunately might have some struggles. I first saw this shoe in an Instagram post at the end of December, and it was in this colorway, and I just fell in love with how they looked. I immediately started looking for them and was basically able to find no information. By early January, I started to see them available at some European retailers, but even then I wasn't seeing any US 13s for sale. By February, I finally saw a couple US shops getting these in and was able to find a single size 13 at a place called Blends in California. I swooped on them quickly, and since then I've not seen another size 13 for sale. And a lot of sizes, especially the larger ones, but even down to some of the smaller ones as well, just seem to be pretty tricky even now to find. I keep hoping that these will trickle down to more retailers, but I'm just not sure if that's going to happen. They haven't appeared, for example, on Salomon.com, but I don't know if that's intentional, given that these are more of a seasonal release. If maybe they try to keep it more limited, but I'm still hopeful that we might be able to see them from some more places. My best advice would be just Google Salomon XT6 Kangaroo, which seems to be the main color on here, and just see what you can find, look around for your size. You again might need to be open to buying from a European shop, which might be a little more expensive, but if you're really after them, that is an option. One important thing to call out if you do try to buy them overseas is that I would make sure to check a Salomon size chart and understand what size you're getting. A US 13 for Salomon is a UK 12.5, but for other brands, a US 13 might be a UK 12. So just make sure you're double checking that so you're getting the right size if you can find them. With all that said, we'll dive now into a close-up view where we can take a look at the specifics of the colors and materials that make up this sneaker. Getting into the shoe itself, we've got a lot of earth tones with some shades of brown and tan, augmented by off-white, black, and just a few hits of color. If we come in closer, kind of the main part of the shoe is this darker brown mesh material. These aren't waterproofed in any way, and so while you do have some overlays that would help, these definitely aren't made to be worn in extremely wet conditions. They don't have Gore-Tex or anything like that, but they are going to be a little more breathable. Augmenting that mesh base, you've got this series of TPU overlays that kind of do a lot for the structure of the shoe. You've obviously got the heel cup formation right there. You've got the structure for the lacing system. And then you've got this toe protection, which is actually pretty rigid. It's going to do two things. It's going to help protect against debris that you might hit on the trail. And then also I would assume that that's part of, if not the main component of their descent control, where it's going to keep your foot really locked in above the footbed. You're not going to risk slipping forward at all. Now these shoes are basically a walking billboard of terms and technologies. We'll talk through a lot of those throughout and kind of show off the different things. It's important to know Salomon calls this kind of cage TPU overlay system their SensiFit system. We'll see that on the other side, but first, take a look at the toe. There's a call out to Salomon Lab, which is the S Lab you'll hear about with this shoe. You've got Lab branding right there and Salomon at the heel. Flipping to the inside of the shoe, you've got S Lab XT6 soft ground back there. Now on like the website and the box and everything, the shoe is called the XT6 Advanced. Obviously here it's the S Lab XT6, which has led to me and a lot of other people just calling it the S Lab XT6 Advanced, which is quite a mouthful, but kind of combines those different names. You've got to call out to two of their key technologies, SensiFit, which we already talked about being the overlay, and EndoFit, which is referring to sort of an inner booty construction that really hugs your foot and holds it in. That's where the tongue is kind of connected down to the sides of the shoe to keep you locked in. Speaking of the tongue, we've got black construction here with more branding. You can see it's kind of stretchy at the top. You got the Salomon S logo right there. And then a pretty long kind of tag here that says Salomon racing product. And you've got some hits of yellow, red, and green, which is what you'll see on every version of the shoe, regardless of the colorway. And these feature Salomon's quick lace system, so it's not traditional laces. This is more of a cord system where you have this little toggle up here that you can pull down to tighten and pull up to loosen. There's a pouch here at the top of the tongue. It's elastic that you can stick this into once you got the shoes the way you need them. Some people will put it up there. Others will either just leave it loose or maybe slide it under the laces. If you're actually running in these, obviously you're going to put it in there. But if you're wearing them casually, you have a lot more options. The lining of the shoe is black, and it's going to be a little bit hard to see, but the insole is like a light white color with the Salomon logo there as well. This is ortholite, which means it's got pretty good stepping comfort and a little bit of cushion added on top of what the shoe itself has. Speaking of the cushioning, we'll take a look at the midsole setup. So this is what they're calling their agile chassis system. You can see ACS branding there. It's comprised of 3 parts on this shoe. So you've got a kind of softer density foam here forming the midsole top line. That's in a tan color, and then the color gets a little bit lighter down here for a firmer foam. And then also this plastic cage that you can see. It really provides support here at the heel specifically, and then also kind of coming forward a little bit. You can see that here as well as on the inside of the shoe. Right there, they call out pronation control as another just kind of buzzword, again, adding to all of the terms on the shoe. On the outside, it also says AC2 muscle, which I'm assuming is related to the dual density foam that's going on with this setup. If we flip now to the outsole, you can see there's a pretty aggressive kind of chevron shaped lug pattern. This is the key component of what makes these good and grippy on a lot of different uneven, soft ground, basically rough terrain that's going to keep you locked where you need to. We have a bit more branding there with Conta grip, which is what they kind of call this setup, and then chevron, which is again the shape of those notches there. That's going to wrap it up for our look at this shoe. Stick around to the end if you want to see an on foot. But thank you so much for checking out this video, and have a great day.